I didn't know how much I was going to get into this project, but here I am again, digging through the files of my old childhood hard drive with a fine-toothed comb. I figured there was only going to be a few videos at most, that as kids we probably deleted a lot of them to save space. But many still exist. Not just videos, but pictures too. Way too many to go through in a day. There was a folder named School. This was a file we made for the days we snuck the camera to, well, school. We'd take various photos of strange things we'd see there, as hunters of the unknown, vigilant as always to document anything bizarre, which being in school, there were many. Soaked tissues thrown into the bathroom ceiling, documented. The torn off tail of a squirrel in a field, we snapped that. The mysteries didn't end. How about two teachers from different departments talking? We snuck a photo of that. In hindsight, was it suspicious? Of course not. They were just talking. But we were skeptical of everything. During school, we never paid much attention. We weren't exactly failing every class, but we weren't exactly excelling either. We flew under the radar of the teacher's eye, not labelled as particularly gifted, but not labelled as troublemakers either. The perfect definition of the middle kids. This was the same socially. We didn't hang out with the cool kids, nor the losers. We just hung out with each other. The closest thing to popular we ever felt was the time I actually got a love letter for Valentine's Day. It was a kind of attention neither of us were used to, nor were we prepared for. I ended up never chasing it up, purely out of a nervous fear. There's still a picture of it though, documented in the school folder. Looking at it, it wasn't written in the neatest handwriting, but it spoke words of pure love. It was very eloquently written, using some words and metaphors I never learnt until much later in life. Phrases describing how they cherished me, and how I was the brightest star they wanted to stare at in dark nights. But in the end, we were at an age where play ranked above smelly girls. Our escapades always took precedent over social matters. We were dedicated, never wanting to let each other down. When we were on break, we'd meet up and share notes. It wasn't to exchange test answers or upcoming subject notes. That would have been smart to do. No, we constantly came up with plans to catch our local cryptid. Flicking through the school photo album, there's still some documented scribbles we saved for later use, each plan oozing with naive optimism. What I found wasn't just plans though. There were some study notes, theories on what the figure may be. These ideas ranged from a Wendigo to Bigfoot. Our minds went lucid with the possibilities that lay before us. But we eventually unanimously settled on one thing. Whether it was naivety or hubris, we had it in our heads that what we found was something entirely new. We weren't going to find the Yeti or an alien. We were going to be the pioneers for a new cryptid. We fully believed that this was going to propel us into the ranks of cryptid hunters and make us professionals, completely unaware how young we were to be thinking of a career and how silly an idea that a professional cryptid hunter was a career path. There wasn't anything like YouTube at the time, and we were far too young to figure out forums. Though, tell a lie, Martin tried posting about our adventure online on a school computer, but with the terrible quality of our screenshot, plus pitching the idea of this cryptid with the eloquence of a 10-year-old, we were less than welcomed, and very quickly banned from the forum after being mocked. Our first taste of online culture. We didn't care though. The hunters didn't want to demand to be taken seriously. We wanted to earn it. This was going to be achieved through a magnificent plan to catch the cryptid for the world to see. Going through the sketches we saved, we even had plans for a foolproof cell to quarantine the creature, making sure to add notes on makeshift variables, like if it could affect electrical devices, or if it could become ethereal. Though to this day, I'm sure a ghost force field doesn't exist yet. Our plans to catch it wasn't much better. They ranged from ineffective to plain idiotic. One plan was labelled Operation Snare.jpg. In this folder were sketches of loops whipping around a figure's leg, casting him upside down for us to find. The detailed plan involved laying one of those loop traps that hunters use to catch rabbits, the ones always featured in Looney Tunes episodes. In the cartoons, the traps always lay perfectly still and somehow snagged the unaware character by the leg and snapped them up, hanging from the top of a small tree. It was a great idea in our heads, but we had no technical knowledge, so we just ended up leaving poorly tied nooses scattered around the woods. I'm sure that wasn't fun for hikers to find. I have piles of videos of us trying to tie these knots and testing them on each other. They were more like lassos, needing something to pull it hard to wrap its target. We figured this was what the tree was for, as the cartoons always had them pulled by thin trees. But then we couldn't figure out how they triggered. Looking back on the footage, we weren't the brightest bulbs in the box. But you can tell, even from a fraction of each video, we were happy. We also had Operation Pitfall.jpg, which was a drawing of a giant hole with a sad figure stuck inside and 3 more figures above, us, lording over it in victory. The idea was to make pit traps, like you'd see Team Rocket do in the old Pokemon cartoons. In the show, they somehow always managed to dig a deep, unclimbable hole in no time and conceal it in a way for unbeknownst travelers to fall in. What we didn't realize was how much work a hole was to dig, especially in a wooded area with many roots, dead and alive, binding a lot of the top layer of dirt. To document things, we propped the camera on a branch aiming down, hoping to get a cool time-lapse of the hole getting deeper and deeper. We got about a foot deep and barely a foot wide before giving up. I think one of our worst ideas was something we saw in those mystery show documentaries. Our plan was this: Operation Nightvision.jpg. The sketch was of an unattended camera secretly filming a figure eating some bait from a bush. The idea was to set up the camera to film all night. Any motion detected would be picked up and we'd get it on film. All we needed to do was conceal the camera and leave out bait, so that whenever the cryptid would unknowingly take the bait, it'll get itself filmed. When discussing bait, as much as we wanted to use a dead animal of some kind, we were 10, so we used the closest thing: a pink bunny plushie. Another setback was that we didn't exactly want to leave our camera unattended in the woods, so we set it up in my backyard. When playing with the camera, we realized we had neither a motion sensor camera nor a night vision camera. But we tried anyway. When we went to check, we realized how ill-equipped we were. We only filmed part of the night. We didn't get anything usable, and the plushie was gone, which was upsetting at the time. We figured an animal must have got it. So what we ended up with was about 2 hours of pitch black footage. We skipped through the video, but didn't give it much mind after seeing that nothing ever changed. Every day we spent trying things. When we weren't trying things, we were scheming. When we weren't scheming, we were laughing at the footage we got. We never got to try all of our plans, because our investigation was cut short. The headlines saved in my files were widely reported. It was an infamous case in my county. The headline stated that Martin had killed James in the woods. Each title was as catchy as the last. Each one was accompanied with a mugshot of Martin. Each shot carried a look of melancholy, almost unemotional. There were a lot of accounts, but if you piece them together, they all tell one cohesive story.